Hey y'all, welcome back to our kitchen. Today in the kitchen we're making a cheap what's for dinner meal idea again. And we're using one of the cheapest ingredients that you can find. We actually got ours at Walmart, but you can get them at any grocery store. We're using a box of macaroni and cheese, the cheapest kind you can get, and we're going to turn this into a supper for tonight. And this is 39 cents, so you can't get much cheaper than that. But we're going to use 1 pound of ground beef, or if you had a pound of sausage, you could use it, but this one we're going with ground beef, and some diced tomatoes, or if you had the rotel, you could use a can of that, but I'm just going with this, and I'm going to add my spices to it, because that way I can use what I have in my pantry without buying the rotel. We've got some corn going on. I've got my mulberry leaves boiling to have my tea. But for supper and for a what's for dinner idea, we're going to make this mac and cheese recipe and see how it turns out. So let me turn you around here, and all the other ingredients I'll list in the description box down below, plus you'll see them in the recipe. But first we got to get our ground beef brown and get started on cooking this. And by the way, I wanted to say too, in case I forget at the end, if y'all like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe if you hadn't already. Hit the red button down below. So let's get to cooking. Just let it brown and cook your ground beef all the way through, and then we're going to drain the grease. Now that we got the grease drained, we're going to add our pasta, our can of diced tomatoes, 1 cup of milk, and 1 cup of water. And then I'm going to add a little onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper. Travis likes a lot of black pepper, so you don't have to add quite as much if you don't like as much black pepper, and a little salt. And just a pinch of red pepper flakes to give it a little flavor. Won't make it too hot, just give it a flavor. And then we're going to give that a mix. Okay, now that I've got it mixed, I made a mess. Okay, now that I've got it mixed and it started cooking down a little bit, those tomatoes are making a little more extra juice in there. Once they start cooking down, they're going to make some juice too. I'm going to go ahead and even add my packet of my cheese flavor that comes with the macaroni and cheese. And now I'm going to add just a little bit. I added a little bit more black pepper, and I'm going to add just a tiny bit of paprika. And then we're just going to let that finish cooking. See, it's already starting to cook down and get thick, and those noodles cook, and see how it turns out. It's starting to get a lot thicker and creamy. It's real creamy. And the tomatoes are starting to cook down, so I'm going to now just put a lid on it and walk away for a little bit and let it simmer. We'll bring you back when they get done. Okay, now that I've let it sit there a little while, the pasta has already cooked, and see how it's still a little juicy. It's not dried out, and that's how I want it. The tomatoes are still in there, little pieces, but that'll just add flavor. So we're going to see how this turns out. Now I'm trying to make this a cheap what's for dinner meal. You could, if you wanted to put more money in it, you could add some cheddar cheese on top, or either some mozzarella, whatever you have, and even bake it for a few minutes just to brown the top of it. But we're trying to do this on a cheap budget for what's for dinner. So we're going to see how this tastes, and we'll let you know how it turns out. We'll scoop us up a little bit just to see how it looks. It sort of reminds you of Hamburger Helper, but this one we used what we had, and we used the cheap pasta and the sauce from it with the can of tomatoes and made our own Hamburger Helper. Okay, I've got it up and it's cooled off a little bit, so I'm going to give it a try and see how it tastes. That's not bad. So, it would be a good dinner if you've got a lot of kids to feed or just a big family. And you could even add 2 boxes of macaroni to 1 pound of ground beef if you had to make it go further. Right now, with the fuel prices the way they are, we all got to figure out how we're going to have cheap dinners. And this is one way to do it. This is like Hamburger Helper. But we use the 39-cent box of macaroni noodles. So I hope y'all can see if it's focusing.